Greetings. One of the things that I ask you to do throughout the semester is to keep up with economic news, macroeconomic news, as reported by the Wall Street Journal. And we'll do that with regular discussion board postings, but I really want you to keep up with information about the economy every day in the Wall Street Journal. And we'll use that at the end of the semester in a macroeconomic briefing report. That'll become clearer as we go through the semester. So I want to take a bit of time right now to go through and show you how to best read the Wall Street Journal in a most efficient way, where the macroeconomic news is and general economic news is, so that you can make the best use of your time for this course. So let me share my screen, and I've got the Wall Street Journal up on the screen for you. So here's the front page of the Wall Street Journal, digital version. Right? And it will have general news about business on the front page. But note at the very top up here, there is a link called Economy. Oftentimes there'll be economic news on the front page itself. Right now I don't see anything of particular interest, but sometimes when new data comes out, new news reports come out, it could be in the middle right here where this graph is, or it could be a story that's right over here in the upper left. But there is a whole section called Economy in the digital version, digital website for the Wall Street Journal, and that is where you can go to look for news. So if you click on that, what you'll see is a whole series of articles, not just from today, but from recent days, recent weeks, etc. You can start from the top on down. The Outlook, you'll see a subheading under here. The Outlook is a common column about economics. And if you click on that, you'll go right to the actual article. Okay? So this would be actually an example of the kind of article that you might report on, because it has to do with macroeconomic policy, in this case the Federal Reserve. You'll see that there's also an article, and it's always the case on the Sunday before a new week starts, the Economy Week Ahead. It's not actually an article, it is a listing of the kinds of data that will be coming out that week and when you can expect to see news stories about this new data in the Wall Street Journal. So on Monday, there'll be surveys of purchasing managers in Japan, etc. So that would be not considered necessarily a major news story. It could be, but generally not probably a major news story. At the same time, there will be information about interest rate increases from the Federal Reserve. So there might be a big story that day about that. And then there's Canadian information. We're going to focus our attention on U.S. macroeconomic news, not international or not from Europe or Canada, other places, but we're going to limit our focus to the U.S. Now, so on Thursday, we're going to have information about GDP. And so that's a big one. That's a big information story. It's one of our major variables in our course. So there'll be a big news story that day. Typically the reports come out in the morning, 8:30 a.m. Typically. So it'll be at the start of that day. On Friday, you can see that there's going to be information about U.S. consumer spending from the Commerce Department. Consumer spending is a large part of GDP in the economy, so that also is going to be a major news story. Those are the kinds of things that I'm going to ask you to post about in a weekly discussion board post, right, summarizing one of the articles from the previous week in the Wall Street Journal. But it needs to be a major news story around some new economic report or economic policy. There's a rubric that is posted also in the Blackboard space around that discussion board. But this will be the basis for those discussion board postings, Wall Street Journal articles. So if we keep scrolling down, we can find additional articles, right? For example, down here. And so there'll be some other, what to read next kinds of things. Sometimes there'll be other articles that will be down here. So in this case, we are actually in the week ahead, right? The economy week ahead. And so we're not actually on that economics page, right? You'll see it looks like that, right? The economy page, right? Again, other articles, right? This is actually an interesting one about workers in the economy. It's related to chapter 3 in our textbook on the labor market and the production function, production. There are also videos. There's a library of videos and that you could go to, right? You can click on the video link and you'll see a collection of videos about economics. And then you'll have a whole series of recent stories. Some of them I will also include in my Twitter feed that I have in the Blackboard account. You will see a curated list of economic news articles. Right? So you can also look there for news articles. This piece by Janet Yellen would be a significant news article. It's about fiscal policy and World Economic Forum speech. That would be good. U.S. jobless claims, that comes out every week. Not a major news report, not a major report. So that's not one that I would consider as one to report on. China economic news. No, we're interested in U.S. economic news. And then so one needs to look through that information. You'll see economic week ahead, and you can load more, and so there'll be more, right? So Omicron inflation drive down U.S. growth outlook, right? If we click on that, pretty significant article there. That would be one that would be newsworthy to report on. You can load more, and you can find them. I'm going to ask you to report on an article from the last week in the Wall Street Journal. So that's going to be our focus. So this is where you come to look. We will be doing this in class. I will bring these up in class usually every day as well. But it's the Wall Street Journal. We can go home, right? We come into the Wall Street Journal. I have a link in the discussion board posting area as well in Blackboard to take you right here. Once you are here, we want to go up to that economy link. Now, just by way of information, there are other places to look for economic news as well, although for the discussion board posts, I'm going to want you to look in the Wall Street Journal. That's why I have you subscribe to it. But the New York Times also, just to expand the discussion here a moment, the New York Times also has economic news. It's a national newspaper, also a valuable place to look. But you have to get there generally from, sometimes it'll be on the front page, like the Wall Street Journal. We'll have economic news on the front page. But you go through business and then through econ. So there'll be economics news there as well. Okay? But there'll be more in the Wall Street Journal on a regular basis. But for any major news report, any major macroeconomic report that comes out, it'll also be in the Wall Street Journal. You can also look in places like NPR for audio news reports, or Marketplace, other places where there's reporting on the news as well. But I just wanted to make you aware of that. We're going to focus our attention on the Wall Street Journal in this class primarily, but I wanted to make you aware of other sources of news. The discussion board posts, you'll get to that information through a web page or through a page that you will get to under assignments, discussion board posts, and then you will click on the discussion board for current macroeconomic conditions. I also mentioned the economics in the news. That is a curated feed of macroeconomic news. I do that periodically, not necessarily every day, but these are links to, in this case, sometimes New York Times articles, sometimes Wall Street Journal articles. Right? Again, a very useful place for you to find current economic news. I've got some links to some other places to look for that news. As I said, Marketplace, NPR, Planet Money, all different places that have current economic news stories. So a key learning outcome for you in the course is to link up what's happening in the real economy, the actual U.S. economy, with the economic theory and economic analysis that we're doing in class. So that is the purpose behind having this kind of assignment.